We're running, jumping, but not walking. No walking allowed in the final episode of the Cardinal Report of the season. Men's and women's track and field are here before they wrap up their seasons by competing at nationals. And since this is the final episode, we look back at the year that was. All that and more is next on the Cardinal Report.
Lift off.
Before we sit down with the women's track and field team, let's take a look at the last home meet of the year, the Dr. Keeler Invitational.
1,500, Rebecca Cafering placing highest amongst her Cardinal teammates, a 24th place finish. Antoinette Fior, 28th, Amy Rotuno, 36th, and Jamie Roan, 37th. In total, 8 Cardinals racing in the 1,500. To the men's side, Michael Anderson in the middle of the pack in Heat 2, crossing with a time of 3 minutes and 56 seconds. That's good for 8th overall. Teammate Jeremy Ducharme not far behind, in fact just 2 seconds behind. 3:58 puts him 16th overall. Meanwhile, in Heat 3, Jeremy McQuality grabs the 4th spot. He finishes 17th. On the opposite side of the track, hurdles all set up. Adam Lundquist, an indoor national qualifier looking to boost his outdoor qualifying time. Incredibly tough field. Lundquist coming in with a time of 15:12. Not where he wants to be, but he has another week to secure a spot out in Wartburg for the national meet. Meanwhile, teammate Zion Mason, by the way, best name in the field, he finishes with a time of 15:32, slotting in 10th. Unfortunately, no Madison Renfro on the women's side. She's taken a week off from the hurdles. Moving to the 800 meter, Victoria Capaziello and Priscilla Colon watching on for the first heat. They're paired up in Heat 2 in lanes 2 and 3, and as you can see, the track's starting to get a bit wet. The rains are a-comin'. Middle of the race, the pair smack dab in the middle of the pack. And down the home stretch, Colon 3rd, Capaziello 4th, 15th and 16th finish overall. Aaron Sabat featured on the men's side. Halfway through, Sabat in the back, which is the Sabat kind of race. And hey, that's not an insult because he always kicks down the stretch. No different here. Final 100 meters, and here he comes. Swinging to the outside, making that late push of his, riding that momentum into second place, and setting a new school record in the 800 meter. How about a time of 1 minute and 49 seconds? I'd say he's ready for nationals, and his teammates look like they agree. Hurdles back on the track, 400 meter race this time. Peyton Perron collected an All-American trophy for indoors. Can he do so in the 400 meter outdoors? The freshman might surprise you. Down the final runway, Perron comes in 4th, but hey, the top 3 guys are all unattached, so Perron is the meet's top 400 meter hurdler with a time of 54:18. To the intense Jessica Sutphin and her 400 meter hurdle race, rain really coming down now. Sutphin finishing 2nd in Heat 2, 5th overall, a great time of 1:02.27. There's Renfro again, getting ready for the 100 meter dash. Mason Whipple joining her in lane 3. Renfro showing off her blistering speed, really pulling away 50 meters in. She coasts in to a time of 12:34, tops in the heat, tops in the meet. Whipple, meanwhile, coming in 8th with a 12:65 time. For the men, Robert Callion, the only sprinter in the event, comes in 24th with a 11:23 mark. Rain really coming down heavily now, just in time for the steeplechase. Arguably the most grueling race there is, at least it looks that way, and usually it's dry. Cardinals entering 4. David Santana, Alejandro Rosales, Zach Herrera, and Chase Hall. Spectators watching on as the men hurdle the barriers, crashing into the water below. Santana, the Cardinals' top time with a 9:52 mark. That puts him in 30th. Last race of the night, the 4x4. Cardinals claiming a spot on the podium back in Nationals for indoors. Same team looking to qualify for outdoors. Zach Kirby running the 3rd leg of the race, and he hands off to Perron in 3rd. The freshman does his thing, flies into 2nd place, and a 3:15 time for the squad. A successful finish to the meet.
Head coach of the women's track and field team, Carrie Cluckhone, joins me first. And coach, outdoor nationals, 5 athletes are going down. Was it nice when you realized you guys were doubling your total from indoors?
Oh yeah, it was great. We knew we had a strong group that had the opportunity to get outdoor based on the events that we would add to the outdoor meet. So it was really fun to be able to see them be able to earn those opportunities themselves.
And now you look at one athlete in particular that did really well in indoors and now gets a chance to compete in 2 events outdoors, Madison Renfro. She just continues to do what she does. Does she continue to impress you, or is it just the expectation at this point?
Well, we always say expect yourself to be at your best. So regardless of what athlete it is, that's how every athlete is supposed to approach their competitions. But I do sit back and watch her in practice, knowing, rarely you're going to see someone practice like this, compete at this level with that type of intensity.
Yeah.
But with both events, you asked her a couple years ago, the 400 hurdles wouldn't even have been a thought in her mind. And then indoor, it started to come up a little bit more, like she wanted to see about trying the double.
Yeah.
And so it'll be fun to watch and see what happens.
How big of a difference is it between the 100 and the 400?
They're very different races, and you can ask Jess that in a little bit, because she does both as well. But at this point, though, it's a lot about just being competitive and being fit and strong. And, if you have that type of attitude that you're prepared and you're ready to go, then you can do anything. But with regards to training, most people train a little bit differently if they were a specialist in one or the other. But with our 2 women that are in the 400 hurdles, and Jess was our second best 100 hurdler as well, really they were somewhat similar in some of their interval work. But they're both just strong women that have developed over the course of their careers and are really excited for the weekend.
Now you mentioned Jessica. She is competing in the 400, a senior, last chance to qualify for nationals, and she does it. How happy were you for her?
That was exciting. Jess ran an amazing race with actually even some room that she knows that she can continue to improve in her 400 hurdles. We actually had to decide between that and continuing with the heptathlon, because she's nationally ranked in the heptathlon as well. And her best chance was the 400 hurdles after we reviewed it and made some decisions. So it's going to be really fun to see what she has. We think she's a dark horse that people will be surprised with at the national meet.
Now you have 2 throwers going down as well. How nice was it to add those field events to the mix, and now that you guys can get even more points at outdoors?
It's great. Haley has been training hard, really patiently training and diligently training, because hammer is her, or javelin is her event, and there's no indoor, comparison at all. So it's really been working through the whole year, waiting for this point to come. She actually had an injury last year at conference, and came back from it very well, and I'm very excited for her. And with Kayla and the hammer, we all knew it was in her. Yeah. It was just being able to be consistent and then having the big throws come out. So it'll be a really fun meet to have both of those 2 competing on Saturday.
And then we can't forget Megan Costanzo, who has been on this stage before, and she's doubling up again.
Yep.
Again, same thing with Madison. Is it just an expectation that she's going to be there, tough as nails, battling through those races?
Yep, and she's had a path and a half to get to this point, with some injury issues and, an early transfer in her career to us, and just very, very selfless and really driven, really fun to watch race and compete, really fun to watch her cheer for her teammates as well. But when I took Megan and Madison out to Mount Sac and Long Beach to race this spring, and they really elevated themselves to a higher level of competition. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen at Nationals.
Should be a fun couple of days. Now, you are ramping up for Nationals, but then right after season's over, what are your thoughts? I know it's a little early because Nationals haven't happened yet, but what are your thoughts on the season, the year as a whole? Because it's kind of one big season for you.
Right. Yeah, it's been a great year. We've had a lot of growing across the board. Some of our underclassmen really starting to understand what it means to be part of our team, with great leadership from our upperclassmen, really trying to instill on them what they expect them to continue to do when they all graduate. We have a great graduating class. I can't believe the group that we're graduating. They will not be replaced. You just can't replace that type of group. But I'm excited for next year, and as long as the women that return and the newcomers come in really understand the commitment of being part of our team and the culture we have, it's going to be great in the future as well. We always talk about really honoring those that have come before you on the team and making sure you keep that tradition of excellence. So that's what I would expect of anyone who'll be on our team from here on out.
Well, hopefully you get excellence this weekend too, because it's going to be fun. Best of luck.
It'll be great. Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks.
Coming up next, we have Jessica Suffin and Haley Falzerano on set. We'll be right back on the Cardinal Report.
Time for our final play of the game. Final honors going to Aaron Sabat, who sets the new school record with a 1:49.40 in the 800-meter race. Just check out that kick down the home stretch. The senior will look for more of the same at the national meet.
Welcome back, and we're joined by Jessica Suffin and Haley Falzerano. And Jessica, I want to start with you. Senior, coming into the year, it was your last chance for nationals, and you finally qualified the 400 meter. How happy were you when you realized you're going to Iowa?
I was thrilled, but I was definitely weary at the beginning because I wasn't fully sure I was in. You really got to wait to that last minute to make sure you're officially in, especially with all these last chance meets. But once I figured it out, I had a moment, and I was so happy. So
I'm guessing emotions were running kind of high?
Oh, definitely.
Now, you told me a funny story. At the Dr. Keeler invite, you didn't think you qualified when in reality you had.
Right. What happened at the meet was they displayed the wrong time up on the board. So I was really happy I got a PR, but then I was like, I don't think I qualified. And amazingly, my time was about a second and a half faster than it showed up on the board. So
that's awesome.
I'm in.
Better that way than the other way around, right? I mean, you might have been toying with you a little bit of the other way around. Haley, I want to go to you. You are also qualifying as a senior, so basically the same question. It had to have been an awesome moment when you finally realized you're going to nationals, right?
Of course. I mean, my big throw came at the conference meet, so it was a couple weeks back. It was actually my first throw of the series, and I saw it, and I knew it was a bomb, and I was so excited. And then the last couple weeks, I've been consistent in my throws, not quite as high as the PR, but it was a big waiting game.
Yeah.
I actually didn't find out until Friday when Coach was making the actual announcements. I got an email said you qualified. I was like, oh.
Were you refreshing the qualifier page?
Well, I was sitting in the last spot
Wow.
going into the last chance meet, and then nobody ended up going ahead of me, and actually a couple of girls dropped out. That happens sometimes if they're in other events. So I ended up at 20, so that was awesome.
Sitting on the edge, that is crazy.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about this. How far can you throw the javelin?
I believe it's 140 feet, I think, around there. It's
That is
41.
crazy.
It's 41 meters, so it's a ways.
You're lethal with the javelin. I mean, it's to that point. That's crazy.
Yeah. I guess.
If you want to be. Jessica, you do a little bit of everything as well. You actually were in the heptathlon.
Correct.
But then you pulled out of that, but you decided to go to the 400 meter. But what's that like, having to go through all those events?
Well, it's a big jump. It's 7 different events. So we start off with the 100 hurdles, move to high jump, shot put, 200, come back the next day, long jump, jab, and then finish with that killer 8.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, and I'm just so happy to be able to have the experience of doing it, because my freshman year, I also came back from an injury like Haley.
Yeah.
Back injury. We're both back injuries. And I honestly never thought I was going to be able to do any of those events, and I've definitely exceeded my expectations.
That's pretty cool. What is your favorite of the 7 events? Or 8, because 400 meter hurdles aren't in there as well.
I mean, I started in high school doing the 300 meter hurdles, so that's kind of like my go-to, but then I've also grown to love the multi. It's just, I love it all.
Now, Haley, you get to work with Kayla as well. Do the javelin throwers and the hammer throwers work together, or is it kind of separate?
Well, we practice next to each other. The jav runway is right next to the hammer cage. And actually, Kayla throws a little bit of javelin as well. So we see each other a lot. We practice together, and it's fun. I mean, we critique each other. I don't know a whole lot about hammer, but Kayla will tell me oh, Haley, keep your arm back, or, she's really helpful, and I'm so excited that Kayla's going. I can't think of anyone more deserving. She's worked so hard.
Have you tried the hammer?
Oh, no. No. I have not.
It's heavy, isn't it?
It is. It's like a shot put on the end of it's not as heavy as the weight throw, but it's still heavy, and just, watching Kayla, watching Lena last year, they're just incredible with the speed of their rotations. I'm just like, wow, it's amazing.
And you got to wait till Saturday. You going to be kind of anxious to get underway?
I have some nerves, definitely, but I actually think it's going to be good for me to be able to get in a couple days of, seeing the trainers and being able to really get my body prepared for it. So I think it'll be really fun.
And then last but not least, you'll be racing with Madison. You're looking forward to that?
Absolutely. We always say that cards fly together, so it's going to be perfect in our hurdle race. We're going to go out there and do our best and have each other's backs.
Awesome. Good luck. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and hopefully you guys can bring home some medals.
Hopefully. Thank you so much.
Thanks for stopping by. Coming up, we have the men's track team coming out. We'll be right back on the Cardinal Report.
Today is Saturday. 60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. Get ideas. Get involved. Get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
Head coach of the men's track and field team, Frank Grammaroso, is here. And Coach, your thoughts on 12 entries into the field for the Outdoor Nationals. You guys have a whole bunch of athletes heading down to Iowa.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see the last computerized rankings, even though they don't mean anything, but it gives you a good indication of, unless you study the list. I don't study the list very well, so I rely on them telling me where we're sitting. That being ranked first the last 4 weeks is a tribute to the guys who qualified, and we're in the hunt somewhere. We always want to be in the top 10, and we'd love to be on the podium in the top 4 to get a national trophy. And there's things you can't control, as you saw in the conference championship, so we're just going to go at it, have a lot of fun, and whatever happens, happens.
Now, I read that you guys have the second most entries in the field, behind only one of the Wisconsin schools. You mentioned back in outdoor season, the more bullets you have, the more damage you can do. Do you feel confident going into this one?
I really do. We have some guys that have done the work all season. They stayed within the process. We didn't worry about the outcome, and now this is the last outcome that we have, the last challenge. And whatever happens, happens. They're in the national meet. That's what's fun about it. We
were talking right before we hopped on air. Luke Winder has a pretty tough field to try and trump this time around. He has 3 national titles under his belt. What does he have to do to claim that 4th?
Well, he has to stay in the process that we talk about and, try to get on big poles. And within that process is the technique. You have to have some good technical vaults. And, he's big time and he usually competes very, very well when the pressure's on. So, I think there's 3 17-foot vaulters and, have his hands full and just go at it like he's been doing. And again, the hardest part is trying to stay in the process and do what you do every day at practice and relate all that into the competition. But there's so many technical things in the vault that don't go your way, and I've seen a lot of things happen.
Now he's joined by Dylan and Spencer.
Yep.
Is it nice to have 2 guys along with him?
Yeah, it's part of being on the team. We tell the guys, you're not alone. You're not the only one going. And Spencer qualified outdoors last year, but failed to qualify indoors this year. So he's really excited. He was tied for 19th, and he got in there. So all that fuss and all that worry is gone. Now just go there and do what you're capable of doing. And same thing. You don't know what's going to happen.
Now you have 3 guys squarely in the mix for the steeplechase, headlined by Ethan Adelfinger. That race is one of the most brutal ones, and we were just talking, they have prelims for this one, despite the fact that they had to race this twice in 3 days. How tough is that?
It gets to you. It all depends on, there's going to be guys who just made it, who are kind of tired, and they may fall off the pace right away, but our guys are running great. Coach Carius and Coach Chris Wheaton with that event, they're doing a great job, and they're prepared, they're ready. They just got to go out and compete, and whatever happens, happens. You can run a PR and maybe not even make it to the finals, but it's one of those, we have high hopes for them. They've run great this season, and they're really on.
Now, Aaron Sabat went indoors, and I'm sure he walked away with a little bit of disappointment after not qualifying for the finals in the mile. Now that he's back in, do you feel like he's going to run with a little bit more vengeance and try and medal?
I think so, and that's why he chose to run both events. We left it up to him what he really wanted to do, and we always talk about you have to have a defining moment, and I think indoors was his defining moment to say, hey, I'm better than this, and I'm going to take care of business. And he really had a great outdoor season and set 2 school records, and he's very confident that he can go in there and if he loses himself in the team and not worry about the outcome, just go out there and compete. I think he's going to do great.
At the Dr. Keeler invite, I remember watching him down that last maybe 100-meter stretch go from maybe 7th place to second.
Way back.
And he set a new school record.
Way back, yeah. He's going to have to run a much better prelim than that. He can't give the guys at Nationals 25 yards and make it all up. He's got some good leg speed, but everybody does.
Yeah.
All 20 guys in the national meet, it's between 149 and 150 flat, so that's a lot of guys.
That's a fast race, too. Now, we can't forget to go to the long-distance guys, Zach Plank and Tim Vasquez. Zach's in 2, Tim's joining them in the 5,000. Expect similar things from them as you did indoors and outdoors?
Sure, they're ready. Their coaches have kept them in the process all along, and Tim was ranked 18th, I think, and he had a little trouble this year trying to double, so the coaches talked with him, and he decided he's just going to be fresh after being 3rd indoors. If he's fresh in the 5K, who knows what can happen. And Zach's as strong as ever, and he's going to do great in both.
The 4x4 team, 15th, I think, ranked coming in. How do they move up and try and medal?
Run fast. They're capable. They're ready to. And, as a matter of fact, it was my decision, but I talked with Peyton. He's qualified in the hurdles, and I hate to tell somebody, hey, you qualified, but we're not going to run you. But he's a team guy. Yeah. He came to North Central like his father did to be part of a championship team. And being ranked 20th and being a freshman, we just felt it would be better for the 4x4 if those guys were fresh. Same thing with Daniel Spock. I didn't enter. He probably wouldn't have made it, but I didn't declare him in the 400 meters. You declare the top 35.
Right.
And then, the top 20 get to go. So we're going to go at it. We're going to have to run fast, and whatever happens, happens. They're in the meet, and they're contributing to the whole team process.
And, hey, Peyton's got 3 more years, too.
That's right.
He's a freshman. Good luck. Best of luck. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up next, we have Zach Plank and Peyton Perron on set. We'll be right back on the Cardinal Report.
Don't let E. coli mosh with your food. An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. So always separate raw meat from vegetables. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back, and we're joined by Zach Plank and Peyton Perron. And Zach, I want to start with you. Sure. You competed in 2 events in the indoor nationals, and now you're competing in 2 events in the outdoor nationals. What was the experience like indoors, and how are you carrying that outdoors?
There was a lot of stuff indoors that's, like, training-wise, that's a bit different than the outdoor season, and the winter really sets up for your spring. So racing indoors was a lot more, there was a lot more mileage under my legs, and a little bit more tired when it came to that 3K on the second day. But this time of the season now we're kind of fine-tuning things and being able to adjust how I need to, just to be able to feel sharp and feel ready. And the strength that I've built in the winter is definitely proven and has shown in this past couple weeks. So being able to do that has been nice, and being able to run some pretty fast times has been
physically
great too.
I'm sure you're ready. Mindset-wise, how do you approach Iowa?
Approach it as the same as I approach every meet. I mean, it's no different than the first meet I ran this season and any of the other races. I mean, I try to take the confidence and the mentality I had in the cross-country season and use that. And almost some of the times I think of the races as time trials here on the track with the rest of my teammates, and that really calms me down and keeps things real simple. It's the 4 parts, and it's been that way for 50 years. So being able to tap into that is pretty nice.
Peyton, you're a freshman, and yet you have a chance to already claim your second national point, if you will. How exciting is that? How fun has freshman year been for you?
It's been absolutely amazing, more than I could have ever imagined. Every experience that I've had and all the moments that I've shared with these guys has just been so fun. And, I obviously I had expectations for myself coming in, but you never really know what it's going to be like. I can imagine, every single day something new, because you don't know what the training is going to be like, you don't know what the meets are going to be like and everything. So, it's so exciting that I've been able to, everything's worked out so perfectly. And it helps being on, doing it on a relay, because you got 3 other guys who have, done, the Spock and Kirby have done it before. Nordy's also a new guy too, but we're doing it with those guys, and them will help me through the process. And even the little things nobody thinks about, from just, when you warm up and how you warm up before a race, nobody thinks about. And it's just, I never knew how to do it, so those guys had to help me so much with all that stuff. So they've been awesome, and they've been amazing teammates and amazing role models to me. So, but it's been an absolute blast. I've loved it. Now,
speaking of prepping you, your dad went to North Central, if I'm not mistaken. How did he kind of get you ready for this North Central experience?
He he didn't do too much. He wanted me to make the decision he did enough.
Yeah.
He was, he was my track coach and football coach also. So he did a lot more along the lines of just talking to the different coaches, different college coaches, and helping me, get in contact with them and get on visits and stuff like that. But as for, where I wanted to go, he did everything, could leave it totally up to me. If I didn't want to go North Central, I didn't have to go North Central.
Now, Zach, you get to run with Tim Vasquez again. You did so indoors. We talked back then out in Iowa, and I'm sure we'll talk again, but Tim stepped up his day-to-day preparation.
Yeah.
And he really kicked it into high gear after cross-country season. Have you seen that continue now as you approach the very end of the season?
Absolutely. He's definitely taken pride in the team, which is great to see, and it's great to see in everybody. But he's definitely that collective confidence that he and I have together, and not only ourselves, but the program and the process has been amazing. And that really proves when we're racing together, we're out there together, in the 5Ks that we've run in Platteville and at Drake have been such strong races to be a part of, and exciting ones too. And it's fun to share that with people. And Al has a saying, what's success if you can't share it with anyone? And having one person that's maybe a second in front of me each time is awesome to share that with.
Or a second behind you. Either works, right?
We'll see.
Big picture, though, how much would it mean to you, and you've talked about team a couple times already, to put NCC back on the podium?
It's definitely been a big goal of mine ever since the cross-country season. After not being able to trophy there and having that really bring you down, and then, after the indoor conference, getting second, and again, missing the podium indoors too, and after being, given the title of team captain in the cross-country season, I've definitely taken on a big leadership role, and that's been something that I've set my eyes on, and I want to be able to not only do this for these guys that are racing with us, but set it up for the younger guys too that are coming back, and show them what it takes to be at that level, and have them have confidence in not only myself but everyone else as well, and themselves too.
Right.
So being able to do that would be absolutely amazing, and it's definitely probably my top goal.
The legacy of the program is astounding. Peyton, do you ever feel, because I'm sure I'm sure the guys have told you, and you've soaked it all in. Yeah. But do you ever feel pressure performing for a program that is as established as North Central's is?
I think with, you get into the team and you start to feel how it all works and stuff, and you just you don't really think about that. You just lose track of it. You get that family feeling, that family atmosphere so fast, and you're not worried about stuff like that, I guess, when you're competing or running. You think about it and you talk about it sometimes like we are right now, but when it comes down to it, when you're actually running, when you're actually competing, you're not worried about anything. All you're worried about is competing for, your teammates and, your family and everybody else that's cheering you on. But no, I've never worried about anything like that before.
Well, best of luck, guys. We really we'll be looking forward to what you guys can do out in Iowa. And thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you.
Coming up next, our end of year recap. We'll be right back on the Cardinal Report.
We are arriving at season's end. The 2015-2016 school year is coming to a close. And with that in mind, let's run through a quick recap of some of the top North Central sports. Fall, seeing the Cardinal football team finish 7-3, with the losses coming by a combined 16 points. Just missing out on the playoffs, the Cardinals return a young, potentially very good team next fall. Men's cross country also coming up just a bit short. 5th out of 32 teams at the national meet, Zach Plank did claim All-American status, placing 4th overall. Women's cross country sending Megan Costanzo to nationals. The tough as nails senior pounds out a 42nd place finish with one shoe. Women's volleyball finishing another strong season, 22-13 the final mark. Men's volleyball debuting as a sport as well. Cardinals ride a roller coaster season to an 8-16 overall mark, but hey, it's just year one. Wrestling sending a trio of athletes down to nationals. Josh Hardy, Leighton Binion, and Ben Williamson making the trip. A good showing for the Matmen. A late season surge placing the women's basketball team in the conference tournament, including a big 87-81 win over Illinois Wesleyan on senior night. Men's basketball making it all the way to the big dance, 19-8 overall, including a 12-2 mark in the CCIW. Finally, baseball making a great run, claiming a share of the conference title for the second straight year, as the Cards top off their season 31-12. Next year sees the debut of men's lacrosse and women's triathlon. Should be another fun season.
Before we say so long, I just wanted to thank all the people that made this show possible. Big thanks to our director Clayton Urbanek for putting in all the hard work in behind the scenes. Our sports director Justin Cornwall, our executive producer Liz Spencer, and North Central Sports Information Director Clark Tusher have all been instrumental in putting this show together. And then finally, thank you for tuning in. I'm Kevin Jackman. We'll see you next year on the Cardinal Report.